As the boys season comes to a close here for us, they did announce the coaches' selections for All-Stars, and our teams were well represented, especially in Section 2 as you get to the Section 2 honors. And of course, you have to start with Player of the Year in Section 2 and Coach of the Year in Section 2, and both of them come from Warwick. Eric, the Player of the Year, Carter Horst, Coach of the Year, Christensen. So congratulations to them. No surprise there. Carter Horst, one of the more dominant players in Section 2. But give us your thoughts on the MVP award and Coach of the Year.
And I think, well deserved for both Coach Christensen and for Carter Horst. And, the thing is, obviously when people hear Carter Horst, they think of his point per game average, his 3-point shooting. But this guy can leap out of the gym, and he would be averaging probably, I think, 5 or 6, maybe more rebounds per game, plus just a ball hawk on defense. So you're going to get a complete player in Carter Horst, and he proved it again this season. And, again, like Tim had mentioned, so many people expected, had very high hopes for this Warwick team. So, you got to tip your cap to Coach Christensen because, he had to work, especially early on. They're a little slow out of the gate. But again, he front-loaded that schedule with some bigger schools and some tougher competition to kind of prep these guys for the regular season and for a stretch run. And I think because of that, that has benefited Warwick and got them to where they are today.
Carter Horst averaged 14.1 points per game. He was unanimous first team. Caleb Johnsen, unanimous first team. Aaron Enterline from Manheim Central, unanimous first team. Jace Conrad from Garden Spot, unanimous first team. And then Marqus Hardin from Ephrata made it as well. So those are the 5. All of them are local guys. And worth pointing out, top defensive player in Section 2 was Aaron Enterline from Manheim Central. So Tim, just a ton of our local guys are being honored on the first team, and there's a bunch on the second team and honorable mention as well.
Yeah, it just bodes so well for our viewing area just to see those kids. And it's I never ceases to amaze me. I just remember watching Carter Horst and, Caleb a couple of years ago playing, and now here we are talking about their postseason, at least, Carter Horst. Chris Christensen, another great job coaching. I believe Warwick, Eric, if I'm not wrong, was 9-5 at one point of the season. And we sort of, I think, turning into, they went on that 8 or 9 game winning streak early January. And I remember us were talking like, what's going on in Warwick? I mean, we expected more out of this team, but I think you're right. He did front load that season or front-loaded December to play a lot of tougher teams around the Philadelphia area. You just sort of wonder in Coach Christensen's mind, Eric, would he second guess that again? Because yes, you play better teams, and that helps your team against better competition, learning how to push yourself. On the other end, did it also tire them out a little bit? And you just sort of wonder, and I'm sure Coach Christensen going through a lot of that stuff in his mind, but I think for you and I doing this long enough and observing high school sports, it's better to front load than it is to back load, obviously.
Thoughts on that, Eric?
Yeah, sometimes if you play these bigger schools, you could end up with a loss. Now, if you're playing a 6A school, they're still going to get the power points, but you come up with a loss. So is it that, or do you, I don't want to say, make an easier schedule and get wins and improve the record to see if that helps. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think really the coach has got to have the finger on the pulse as to the team and what is going to be best for that team in getting them ready for that upcoming season. One thing I wanted to point out, Chad, you mentioned about the All-Stars, Marqus Hardin of Ephrata, this just tickles me, 13.5 points a game. He scored 285 points on the season. 2 3-point baskets. In a game today that people want to shoot the 3, Marqus Hardin hit 2 of them. So 279 of his points either came from inside the 3-point line and the foul line, which I think is just amazing. It's phenomenal because, everybody wants to shoot the 3 nowadays. Marqus Hardin is like, man, I'll stay inside the 3, hit those 15-footers and get my free throws.
Yeah, well, and a couple of thoughts on that. you can see on that Ephrata team, there's a couple of other guys that can hit the three, so they don't really need Hardin to be the three-point guy, right? They've got Trusky, Landis from time to time takes it. Kopp comes off the bench, he takes it. And then also, additionally, they love to use his athleticism, so he loves to just get to the basket and elevate and attack the hoop. And then lastly, 4 of those 5 starters are coming back for Ephrata next year. They were juniors, and a bunch of juniors and sophomores on the bench. So whoever takes over that program is not getting an empty cupboard there, and have to be pretty excited about that as well. So there is a lot of brightness going on over there in that Ephrata program. As far as Tim, as you were mentioning, the start for Warwick, they started out 2-4 this season, and then went 13-1 until that loss at home at the end to Manheim Central. It was a bit of a head scratcher. So, yes, they started out slow. They ended fast. Would that somehow have affected their seeding in districts? I'm not sure. If we go to Section 3, that one was pretty much dominated by teams outside of our area, like Octorara, Lampeter Strasburg, Elko, but in the first team, Camden Ochs from Cocalico was actually a unanimous selection at his 15.8 points per game, the blocks that he had, the rebounds that he had, the presence on defense that he had. Eric, we got to see him a few times, and a lot of times when he was on Blue Ridge 11, he was dominating, and you had to be pretty impressed with him in his junior campaign.
Yeah, and excited the fact that we're going to get one more year to see him too, because he is a phenomenal basketball player, and I think this is a kid that obviously could play at the next level. Now, again, it'll be nice to have some complementary players as well to go with him, because let's face it, opposing teams are really going to focus in on him, especially when he gets into the paint. He draws a crowd, but he has stepped up his game, and you can see both defensively and at the offensive end. The kid's a really, really good basketball player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him again next year.
All right, Tim, quick thoughts here on Cocalico's big guy down low.
Now, just watching the highlights with everybody else right now, the way he defends that basket and blocks without picking up the foul. I think Eric is right there. Next year, he's got to get some complementary players around him. If not, everyone's just going to collapse around him. But well-deserved honor.
I do think Timmy Hambright's coming back, so they got an outside guy, and they've got inside with Ochs. And, yes, they have some seniors they're going to have to replace. But Cocalico has a good pipeline. They've got a lot of coaching experience in the Lesko family at the levels below, so they're coaching them up to send them to the big league. So I do expect that Cocalico will still, represent themselves well